Good day, everyone. We are here once again to discuss about the continuation of our last video under Introduction to Database Management System. In our last video, we discussed about the definition of database. We were able to figure out what exactly is a database and what is database management system. We were able to know its features and its types. So in this video, we are going to talk about the database languages, which are the SQL. We talk about the categories of SQL, which are the DDL, DML, and DCL. So let's start.
My name is Abu Sabu Muhammad Bakwa. I'm from Department of Cybersecurity.
My name is Zainab Abdullah from Department of Information Technology.
My name is Mujahideen Muhammad Said from the Faculty of Cybersecurity.
My name is Umar Tajani from the Department of Computing, studying cybersecurity.
So thank you, everyone. So I don't know, what can we say about database languages?
Yeah, so database languages, are just like specialized set of instructions and notations that tells the computer what to do and how to.
So Mr. Idrissa, as you said, you basically gave us a flow about database, and today we are going to discuss about database language. So to me, a language, we need to understand what is language before diving into database language.
Yes.
A language can be defined as set of notations, or let me say, a barrier break, or what a person or what a team understands. So as we human beings understand language, we have languages that we understand, we have the languages that we discuss, we exchange communications.
Yes.
So as database, it has its own language that it understands. The language database understand, let me say a computer, it has its own language that it communicates with the server.
Exactly.
That's the binary zeros and ones. So as the database, it has its own language that it understands.
Exactly.
So database language can be defined as a set of communication break barrier, or let me say set of notations that a database understands.
Exactly. That's a very good explanation of what a database language is.
Yeah.
Because, like he said, language is just like a way in which you communicate with someone. Like, for example, in university or as human beings, we all have different languages. I speak Hausa, he speaks Hausa, I can be able to communicate with him. He speaks English, I speak English, I'll be able to communicate with him. So in this case, the database language, you can say it's a way in which you communicate with your data. We were able to explain what database is.
Yeah,
You want
and
to
then database undergoes three processes or three types.
Yes.
That's after defining it, then you control it. After that, controlling it. No, after manipulating,
Yes.
then you control it.
Exactly.
So you see, putting the definition in one place with like database languages are specialized sets of commands and instructions that manipulate, that can define, manipulate, and then control the data within that database.
Exactly. Perfect. That's just
That's
what it
just
is.
like a
Because if we can, let's take a real world example here. Now, we were able to understand what database is.
Yeah.
We said database is what?
as a database is a
set
system
of
or a
commands,
software
like
solution.
instructions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now,
Now, just to define, create, and query databases.
exactly. Now we store data in the database, right?
Yes.
Now, these database languages, if we store data in the database, let me use example as, let's say, our CBT portal, for example, where we take exams and the rest. If we go there, I'm going to log in. If I log in, I will see the questions and I would answer. Now, those informations, my details are in the database. The questions and answer are all in the database. So it's with the use of that database language, that SQL, that use to communicate. We communicate to the system that, okay, this system should what? Should retrieve those information, those data that are in the database, so that they will be displayed. And it's so that the students will be able to see the questions and they would answer it. Now, if you talk about manipulation, that data manipulation, now
That's
data
like
exactly
to modify it.
yes,
Use skills.
exactly. Meaning, like, for example, now 50 students are writing the questions, the exams, for example.
Yes.
Your questions will differ from his questions and will differ from, so which means those questions are displayed randomly. So that's manipulation. You manipulate it because by default on the database that's sequentially, yes. But now you now give it a query that when it's displaying those questions or
Query that
instructions, exactly, we should display them random.
The last thing we're going to talk about the database language before we move to the next step is I'm going to give a more light or more future about the database language. So let's take an example. Like, this is my database and this is a user. So database language is the interface, or let me say the connecting line between the user and the database. I mean, if there is no database language, the database will not understand what the user is trying to query it.
Yeah.
So I think with this we can understand what is a database language.
Yes, sir.
Mr.
And then,
Kamte?
like putting it in one place, database management system is like a software solution that is designed towards to efficiently manage, organize, and retrieve what the data in a what a structured manner, right?
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have the DDL, stands for what?
Data
definition language.
The DML,
Data manipulation
and then
language.
DCL.
Data control language.
So then DDL is a short form of what the data definition languages stand for what deals with database schemas and descriptions of how the data should reside in the database.
Yeah.
And what schemas?
Schema is the overall content.
Like
of the
overall
database.
content of something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's structure.
That's the structure. Or can we put it in like a physical structure of something? Or
Yeah, sure. So like when we say schema, let's take an example of a human body. The schema of a human body are the parts that he uses to do his day-to-day activities.
That's
Yeah,
his features.
exactly.
When we talk about schemas here, the human overall skeleton has to come in because this is what stands in human
So
body,
that's
and then
putting it in a real world
yes, in a
example.
friendly manner.
Like
yes.
Yeah,
then under the
yeah.
features, we give us like some the features of the DDL. Is it
Yeah, like create,
alter,
truncate,
Uh-huh.
comment,
drop,
rename,
rename.
and yeah.
Have
You know,
examples of
DDL,
that.
these are the commands you just listed.
Yes, they are the
Yes.
commands.
Yeah.
And the
Yes.
rest.
That's
So now the thing is, we all know what they mean, but how do we apply them to create a database? How do you
Yeah.
apply them to create a database? If I ask you to create a database now, that will take in information of 10 students, for example.
Yes.
Now you're going to use a command create. You first create the word, the table.
Yes.
Now after you've created the table,
Index.
exactly after you've created the table, then maybe you want to make some changes to the record. You use the alter keyword.
Okay,
To modify.
Exactly.
To
You
modify the
yeah,
structure.
it's just like the
Yes.
way, let's say for example now, you have your Instagram account, yes?
Yeah.
If I want to change my password, by default, I've already set my password, but I want to change it. So that statement alter, that's the query that's being used in the backend to change my password from what was my new password. That's the alter, that's how you use it. Because you create it already, now you are altering it, you are modifying it. So that's alter.
So I think we should move to DML, that's data manipulation language.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Please, can you give me that definition of programming languages? You want to say it, right?
Programming language, yeah. Okay, so I think programming can be defined as giving a computer instruction on what to do. Or let me see, there are a set of instructions that tell the computer what to do and how to do it. So programming language can be defined as a set of notations. That's what the computer understands, given by the human.
yes.
That's to give the computer instruction on what to do and how to do it. I mean, you have to use the programming language to tell the computer what to do and how to do it. So that's
So
programming.
I know someone was talking about it. That's why I come up with the definition that
Yes.
I know when he uses programming language, then I also use it here, that data manipulation language is the use of that programming language that some of the said
Okay.
to modify. Not first of all, after it manipulates,
Okay.
then it what modify the data in the database towards to ensure a easier usage of the user.
That's smooth running. I
That's
mean,
Yes.
smooth using.
Yeah.
And so, like what he said, everything is true. You know, we have database and we have programming language.
Yeah.
SQL is at the same time it's a database language, but it's still a word programming language.
Programming language. Yeah.
Because we know we have programming language, we have style sheets, we have markup languages. But in this case, the difference is that this database, this SQL, is just used when you are dealing with database, unlike other programming languages. You just use them in communicating. Like PHP now, you use PHP to communicate with database as well. Maybe to make some query, like for example. So that's it. So now let's move to DCL. That's the
Yes, that's the last segment of the type of.
DML it performs various operations like inserting, updating, selecting, and deleting of data.
That's like the keys of DML.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And then to put the definition of DML in one place, DML is the use of what the programming language to modify the data to make it easier to use it. That's the simple one.
Exactly.
That's the simple
Like
definition of
if
DML,
I
right?
can, yes, that's perfect. If we want to use real world example, you know, we made mention of CBT
Yes, sir.
in DDL. So in DML, it's going to be, if I'm answering the questions, when I click on an answer, that answer will be inserted into a database. So now we use the keyword of insert
Yes.
to insert into the
Yes.
database. So that's how it uses it.
Right.
We create them now.
I think we should move to the last step of the type. Okay, what, do you have
Yes.
anything to say, Mutante?
It's about DCL,
Okay.
data control
That's-
language.
Okay, that's the last step of the
Yes.
type.
It command, manage, and access information. Yes, like ensuring the data security by controlling who can
Access.
access it
Okay.
and perform a certain.
That's just like controlling it.
Also, like
Yes.
if I get what she says, if you have a database, you need to control who access it,
Exactly.
who goes into it, who reads it,
Yes.
and who
Yes.
knows what is inside.
For the
Ensure
people
security.
what efficient for the efficient data access.
Mhm.
That's
I mean, that's you should secure your
Exactly.
database.
So I think now everybody has an idea about
The
since you've started
database
with,
languages, the
database,
types, and what
not even the database language. Database
from the
management
database
Yes.
the
Yes.
types. That's the OODBMS, the BMS, the
Yes.
to the futures, to
Futures
the
and the
database
rest.
definition
Yes.
languages.
Because
Then
you can also use an example with the DCL. It's just like if you are not a my own student, you cannot access the quota.
Yes.
Why? Because there's restriction.
Yes.
If you do not have that
have
magic
to
number,
grant funding.
exactly.
You have to
Grant it.
grant-
You know, like structured query language and querying something, they're all the same thing. Now, querying something is just like I will
Giving
give,
something
yeah,
instruction.
I'll give you instruction. Maybe I'll give
command.
you a query. Even in the workplace, they can say, they give you a query, for example. Now, SQL, structured query language, is a query but for database. Like query is a general English name.
Yes.
For that case, my mentor will give me SQL.
Eh,
My mentor is my mentor.
Yes.
SQL.
yes, you know, SQL. So like what we're saying now, DCL, giving access, control access to your database because I've created this database. I have lots of data, bunch of data. But how would I access who get that data and who do not get that data? It's just like let me use Netflix for example. It's subscription based platform.
Yes.
Now, who get access to Netflix? Who can be able to view and watch? Only those who have subscribed.
Yes.
The users.
Now, if I go there and I do not pay, so which means I'm not grant access. I cannot be able to
So for that
access.
case, let's not take Netflix. Let's take Island.
Okay,
Yes,
let's
like
take Island. Yes,
Yes.
You
exactly.
see now, Island use DML.
Yes,
modify it.
to modify.
Yes.
Because
Exactly.
videos allow
Exactly
it.
for videos and everything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
now, for example, let me use, in Ireland you can organize your lecture materials, right?
Yes.
Now the student himself will be able to upload that lecture materials. We use what category of SQL? We use DML because it allows the user to insert, and at the same time he can rename. Because if he upload his lecture note, he can rename it, and he can also delete it. He can manipulate. So that's DML.
Yes.
And also we from the back end, that's the admin, we now grant access to students. As you cannot access Island directly without registering.
Yes.
And there are some features that they cannot access them until you subscribe as well. So that it's use of DCL. While from the beginning,
It's a
creation
DML.
of the DCL,
Yes.
the creation of the
Define.
database itself,
Yes.
it's the use of all these crates and the rest. So exactly before all these things happen, you have to create the database first. That's the first thing you should do.
That's the first step.
Exactly, first step on everything, on anything that
Goes with database.
exactly you would
Come
Two
to an
commands.
end of
The grant and revoke
Under DCL.
under this year.
Yeah.
The revoke it removes access or permission from the users,
exactly.
and grant give access
Like to farm
to the
Exactly.
and permit to the
So they set it
database.
they set it by default that now if I'm to be subscribing every month, now that month I paid my first subscription. I've been granted access. Now when that month reaches, this thing have been revoked.
Yes.
So which means by default you see that you cannot access that until you subscribe again. These are the two things. It's automatic. They will grant you access when your date has expired. You will not be revoked your access. So I think with this, I don't know if anyone has any questions or anything. to
I
ask.
think there's the last step we're gonna take, and I think it's gonna be a buy. We're gonna call it a game.
Yes.
Yes,
So
exactly.
now to our colleagues and all the members studying cybersecurity, please you should try and cooperate logging into this account of us and driving your daily
And
weekly tutorials.
yes, we have a YouTube channel called My Own Digital Squad.
Yes, sir.
Also on TikTok. So please, you can all go and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and
And also, like, you can get this video on YouTube, yes. But for my own student now who has access to the island, so the moment they go to their dashboard, they can be able to access all of these lecture materials visually. So like, please, they'll access it when they subscribe and go.
So thank you. Bye.